afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the podcast that explores the world within and out. And thank you for subscribing to Traveling Inside Out, wherever you get your podcast from. And if you could rate it on iTunes or on IMDb, that would be amazing. Thank you. Today's episode is going to be a lot about being creative and the art of storytelling in a way or another. Yeah. Am I doing it during the podcast? Maybe, who knows? Okay. So I've mentioned in previous episodes that I went to a sort of an artist retreat last month in October, and I've also probably mentioned the writing class that I've enrolled to. So I want to talk about both of them, and I'm going to finally start with the artist retreat. As you already know, before I tell you how it was, I need to give you a bit of a context. So I've met a few artists in a class that I took, or I would call it a class, sure, or like a workshop that I took last year in summer. And the main point was to find, like, at least my main point was to find my brand. And it was hosted by Michelle Aiken, and it was really interesting, and I did learn quite a few things. But the best part of it was that I got to keep in touch with some people, some of them in Canada, others in the United States, artists, and I was happy to do that. It was a nerve-wracking beginning of the class. I remember I was like so scared because I felt like I'm in the big league and I don't deserve to be here. I'm always like that, whatever. But fast forward 1 year and something later, I came up with this idea to maybe all of us actually, I mean, it was more like a joke initially. It was a joke that we made during one of our Zoom calls, because from time to time we would still have Zoom calls after that class was over. And then we were joking. Anyway, long story short, we decided to go at a cabin somewhere north upstate New York. And that moment finally happened somewhere mid-October. We rented a cabin, like a house. It's not a cabin, like a big house, on a lake in Penyan, which is kind of close, like 1 hour or 2 hours from Ithaca, or like 1 hour from Ithaca, 2 hours, I don't remember. Yeah, and it was really, really, really beautiful. Now, I think we all came with different, energies for sure, but I think we all came with different approach, or like different expectations from this trip. We arrived on a Friday and we left on Monday. And we were in total, let me count really quick, 2, 4, 6 people? I think so. We were 6. Were we 7? No, we were 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 people. And it was okay. So first, let me tell you my experience, and then I'm gonna say how we all came together. I had to leave New York. I took a bus basically from New York, somewhere midtown or whatever, somewhere in Manhattan. I took a bus all the way to Ithaca, and then from Ithaca, I was being picked up by one of them to continue the road. Now, I didn't know that they need to go away from their trip, because I just looked. This is what happens when I do. This was a cultural difference, because in Iceland and in Romania, most of the time, we don't have 1 million types of roads. We truly don't. So if there's, like, on the map, you can kind of draw a line between two cities. You would just, and there's a line meaning that that's a road there. You would imagine that that's the road you're gonna go on, which was not the case, and I didn't know. So I didn't realize that by asking them to come and pick me up, that means that they are adding more time to their trip. I didn't know that because I didn't check, because it was the road that I saw was like a random road, but they were taking the highway. There's not much highway happening in Romania, and the highway in Iceland is just like a whole, like one road around the country. So that's on me. But regardless, she or they were, she was kind enough to come and pick me up. So that was great. The only problem was that I got sick on the bus. So the whole evening I was feeling a bit like, oh, I don't feel like I want to eat anything anymore. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm a bit dizzy. I'm not, like I was kind of low powered. And that was the Friday. But when we arrived, it was so interesting to see the house. But then also it felt weird because I've been at cabins with friends before, and I was basically the only one who didn't bring any food. And the reason why I didn't bring any food with me was because, firstly, I came by bus and I didn't want to carry that much stuff with me. But the main reason was because I was still not living at my partner's place. I was living with his brother. And because of that, I didn't have my luggage available because my clothes were in my luggage. So I already had to borrow something from him, and it wasn't enough space. And yeah, it was, and I didn't leave from my home, so I felt weird of like it was a mess. Long story short, so the only big problem that I had was that I kind of starved for like half of the trip. I didn't eat because I didn't have my own food, and I felt awkward eating their food. And we didn't go to the shop until Saturday afternoon. And so, yeah, for me, the trip started with me being a bit hungry, and I was like, I will never, ever, 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 ever let my food not like depend on like when I'm eating depend on someone else. It was just that was the case. So because of I was hungry, I wasn't comfortable. But I have to say that in the beginning we felt awkward. Some people wanted to watch TV, some people wanted to cook, some people like it was just we were not together at all. Like breakfast, they kind of ate together, but not really. It was a mess. And as I was saying, I've been with friends before in cabins, and we usually, at least the meals, we are doing it together. But then later on, we finally came together. We had, like, somebody cooked amazing ramen for us, and an amazing apple raspberry crisp, and we made pizza. So eventually that's solved, but I'm just have to mention this because for me it was an issue. Okay, but now it was great to meet them in person. And it was interesting to realize some people were taller than I thought. I'm just gonna say that. And it was nice because I have never been to a house that is literally on the lake. Never been like that before. And it was also nice because we had a fire pit. So, not a fire pit, a fire pit? The one outside. We stayed by the fire. And we had marshmallows, which guess not marshmallows. Marshmallows. I don't know what's the name. Is it marshmallow? The point is that it was my first time ever trying a marshmallow, and it was a mess, but I did it, and I'm pretty proud of myself because I managed to I did quite okay for my first marshmallow, but then the second marshmallow, guess what, got into my hair. And when I say to the rest of the group, they were like, yeah. And I'm like, am I having the full experience of having marshmallows? Like, it's not marshmallow. What's the name of it? Ugh, I can't remember. Anyway, I am happy to say that at the end of the trip, I used my drone, which was amazing. I still haven't published the pictures that much. So I used my drone. Then I have also managed to do some writing, and that I'm gonna tell you more about my writing class afterwards. But I managed to do some writing because again it was an artist retreat, so you were supposed to work on your craft if you wanted to. Like everybody could do whatever they wanted. We also went to a winery, a vineyard, and that was really great. I haven't been to a vineyard since I traveled to uh, Argentina, Mendoza area, that is very famous for their winery, and so on. And we played the board game, and I had time in the sun. I also got a bit sunburned. My nose and my cheeks were a bit sunburned. Um, yeah, so all in all, for me, it was great. Even though in the beginning I was like kind of frustrated and annoyed because we are not coming together as a group and so on. By the end of the trip, we did come together as a group. And then on the way back, if you listen to the previous episode of the podcast, I'm telling you that then I stopped in Ithaca and then I continued my amazing trip with my partner, and that was amazing again. So all in all, for me, it was great because I managed to work a bit on my craft. I managed to talk with them, get to meet them, play some board games, do some shopping, do some cooking, enjoy the fire, have marshmallows. Again, I don't know how they're called. Enjoy the sun, enjoy the lake, get used with my drone. So all in all, for me, was a success. I decided not to go with them on one of their hikes because I went with my partner, and I don't regret that decision. I do regret going on one of the paths that was kind of more boring. But anyway, that was basically the artist retreat. I don't know if we're gonna do this again. We were joking that next time we can do it in Canada. So that would be interesting as well. But now I have to tell you about the writing class. So I've enrolled to a 10-week online writing class that is hosted by Gautam Writers Workshop. And it's because I really want to focus on my writing. I'm still planning. I mentioned quite a few more than 1 year ago about the children's book that I'm working on, and I'm still not giving up on that idea, but I just want to learn a little bit more about my craft. And hopefully next year I'm gonna start pitching my ideas to actual agencies because I can't draw, so I can do it all by myself, and I would rather just find an agent that believes in my idea, that could represent me and help me move forward, basically, with the idea of having a trilogy children's book. Okay, that being said, the writing class is for nonfiction. Fiction. Why keep I saying? Why do I keep saying nonfiction? Fiction beginner level for 10 weeks. We are 16 students enrolled, and it's open for people everywhere in the world because I decided to choose an online class, which means that every week we get like homework and we get to talk about the subject that it's the theme of the week, but you don't have to actually like be available for the class at a specific time. You can do it whenever you want throughout the week. And since I knew that I wanted to start it in October, and I knew that I wasn't very sure about my time and so on, I realized that my best bet would be to do the online class, and also because I've done my master half, or like 1 year of my master was like that. So I kind of have the experience for that. Now, the pros and cons. The pros and cons of this writing class. The cons, I'm going to start with the cons because I think I feel strongly about them, and then I want to kind of end on a good note. Is that okay, so first and foremost, there are 16 students, but I think there are less than 10 that are actually active, and you are supposed to give feedback on each other's work. And since there are not so many, you don't have so many point of views, and also maybe what you're writing is not for some of the people, because not everyone is supposed to be your target, right? So maybe some of them, they don't actually understand what you're writing, and so the feedback coming from them is not going to help you that much. But long story short, it's 10 weeks. In each week we talk about, like, 1 week we talk about the plot, 1 week we talk about the character, like stuff like this. And so every week you have a homework that only your instructor is going to see it, and twice throughout the class you will present like a bigger project that you're working on, and then everybody's commenting on it. And then the next time you can either send the same one improved, or a few, like a completely different thing. So the cons, because I didn't say the cons are that there are not so many people being active, so that's number one. Number two, as a con, I feel like the instructor is not fully paying attention. In one of my homeworks, I wrote something. The weekly homeworks, you're supposed to not write more than 500 words, because it's just an exercise. It's not for you to truly get out there, and it's just like an exercise of an idea, like write about this or that. And so, in one of the exercises that I did, she truly didn't read what I wrote, basically. And I was very confused, as in, like, wait, you don't get it? Like, why don't you get it? So then I asked the people from Artist Retreat, I'm like, can someone please give me a feedback, because I'm very confused at my instructor's feedback, and I need to know if it's that confusing, or she just didn't read what I wrote, or what's happening. And so they got it. So then I'm like, okay, so my instructor didn't get it. The one thing that I don't like what she's doing is she's commenting. So you publish the thing, and she has a tool in which she can underline some of the words from your writing and comment. So she can give a feedback on the whole thing, but then comment specifically on specific words. And the problem that I have with that is that I think she's doing the specific words as she's reading it, but then the feedback that she's giving, like, for example, she's like, so why is this like that? And then at the end, oh, now I get it. So I feel that when you are an instructor for a writing piece, maybe don't give feedback in the middle of the story if you haven't read it through. Maybe read it through, then read it again, and if you do have problems with the structure of the sentence, of like, okay, I wouldn't understand this from this or this from that, then maybe explain it like that. But don't tell me where are they, and then like few paragraphs later on be like, oh, now I get it. Like, that's not going to help me, because I don't like, what if I meant for the reader to be a little bit confused, to make them want to read more and be like, okay, so how is this gonna happen? Like, how is this going to end? Or like whatever. So I feel like the feedback given by the instructor is not the best. So that's the biggest con. Now the pros are that I can read. Oh, I have one more con. have one more con, and that was the first week we got to read the story that was published in New York, not New York Times, New York something, um, and magazine, I guess. And I didn't like it. I didn't see the point of it. I didn't like it. I was like, nope. That's what I wrote about it, because I had to bring my opinion on it. So I said it didn't sit well with me, but I understand why the author did this and that, but I just I didn't like it. And so every other person who wrote, they said that it's amazing and they loved it and so on. So then when instructor came and it was like, so the reason why you love this is because of this of that. And I'm like, are you ignoring me, saying that it didn't sit well with me? So she didn't address it at all, my comments. And I'm like, is she just not, like, she decided to ignore me? She's not understanding that I said that I don't like it. So that made me feel like, oh, okay, whatever then. We're supposed to like this shit because it's given to us to read. And I'm like, I don't want to be like this, because, and this is the pro, I'm switching now for sure to pro part, is you're not only learning how to write, you are learning how to give your feedback on people's work. And I think when you do that, you eventually might be able to understand how to give feedback to your own work. Because every writer needs to be an editor, no matter if you have an editor or not. At the end of the day, you still need to be your own editor before you're showing your work to a possible person who wants to publish it and so on. So, and that's it's a pro because I haven't properly done that exercise and I haven't commented on people's work like that before. Another pro is that the readings that we have, we are giving a lot of examples from different pieces of work, of course, of like famous or maybe less famous artists. So that's a little bit like, that's great because I truly understand better when I'm being given examples. So if you want for me to understand how to improve my description within a story, the fact that you keep giving me, be like, okay, so it can be like this, and then you give me examples, or like this and give me example, and like that and give me examples, and so on. So that is also great. And the fact that I have weekly homework that actually forces me to write at least weekly. I want to write more than weekly, and I'm going to eventually try to write again every single day for a while. But it's forcing me to be creative at least once a week and to really put pen on paper, keyboard on screen, I don't know, whatever. And is forcing me to be creative because some examples are out of nowhere, and it's interesting to see what is coming up to the surface to write when I read about the assignment. And when I read the assignment and this is where my mind goes, that is also very, very interesting. So I do love this. All in all, I have to say that it was expensive, and I am hoping to be able to get some money back from my union in Iceland. We'll see. I'm going to let you know if that's going to happen or not. And this is why the fact that I want to get money back from the union is making me be very active and read all of the assignments, do all of the assignments, read everything that I have to read, give all the feedback to everyone, because only then I will be able to get the certificate that I've done this class. And after getting the certificate, I will be able technically to get my money back from the union. So yes, this is what I've done, and hopefully by the end of the class. So now it was the week. And one more thing that I have to say, I've also realized that one of the things that I'm really struggling with is writing dialogue. I don't know how to make it seem more natural. I'm kind of forcing dialogue on my characters. So that's why I decided to get outside of my comfort zone and publish or like give for review a story that I published many, many, many years ago from Romanian. So I translated it and then added more context to it. And I'm not proud of it. And I got a lot of comments of why it's not working, and some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. So this can also be a positive thing that I'm trying to understand better on how to bring my characters to life and make them more believable through dialogue. It's not easy to read bad reviews about your work, but it's necessary. I would say it is necessary. And it's also necessary to understand who actually truly knows what they're talking about, or they are just there to be like, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't understand this, I didn't get that, and da 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 da. So that is also a great exercise. And because I was talking about comfort zone, let's now move to you telling me about your comfort zone story. Okay, here we go. We are back on Reddit, and let me read what the person said. Visiting Niagara Falls all by myself with like 150 bucks in pocket while being on my first foreign trip. I always used to go out for travel with other folks or talked with others. This time also I asked few other people who were with me, and none of them showed much interest. Feeling pathetic at them. I don't know what that means. So I went alone, deciding within a few hours. And visiting Niagara Falls has been the greatest nature that I have seen so far. That experience taught me that when you really want to do something or go somewhere, something that your mind tells you to do, just fucking do it. Don't wait for others, and don't depend on others to fulfill your wish. And I wanted to mention this one because this is truly the reason why I decided to go all by myself in South America, was because I really wanted to do it and nobody wanted to do it with me. And at the end of the day, when you have the means to do it, and you want to do it, and you won't do, and now we're talking about a travel experience because others won't join you. You just have to take that leap of faith and go for it, and you will see how much of a difference that decision will make in your life. This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening and for reviewing Traveling Inside Out. If you want to get in touch with me, send an email to podcast@alinaigrad.com. And remember, your outer journey begins with inner work. Until next time, bye.